Well, Double or Nothing 2025 is one of the craziest shows I've ever seen in the history of being a wrestling fan, but I'm just going to say this. Thank flubbins that AEW does exist. We are going to talk about Anarchy in the arena later, and I know some people won't like it, which is perfectly fine. You're allowed your opinions, but I think I may have had the best time of my entire life. Also, hello, my friends, welcome to Ups and Downs, the only wrestling review show you need with me, Simon Miller, the bald idiot. And look, AEW pay-per-views are too long for my taste, but it just means we have to get right into it. We take the finger of power, get the good bits up, the bad bits are down. So what a way to start off as well. It was the finals of the Owen Hart Cup, Mone versus Jamie Hayter, and you were just able to sit back and go, you know what? I think I'm going to enjoy this match. Mercedes tried to rely on speed to begin with, so Jamie did come back with power. When Mone was like, a back injury kept you out for around about 15 months, so now I'm going to target it. That sounds terrible, and it sounds disgusting, but I guess if you really wanted to win, and you were kind of a bad dude, which is the point here, you'd likely go and do it. This soon led to all the submissions as Mercedes just wrecked Jamie Hayter with a knee, and the way she threw her onto the floor. Now, you're not going to get this from me just talking about it, so I'll make it very clear. I think they must have had a conversation in the back where they went, shall we just punch each other as hard as we can in the face? And that's exactly what they went and did. This was proper brutal. Taz made me laugh out loud because Mercedes put Jamie in another submission. He went, well, that's near impossible to get out of. And Hayter broke out of it instantly. But I tell you, man, this Taz is an underrated commentator, and we do not talk about him enough. He's been doing it for what, like 25 years, and he's always got better. I enjoy him a lot. Of course, eventually Mercedes decided to pose, or she was doing that dance, and how many times do I have to tell you, you can't do that in 2025, and this is when Jamie Hayter got back into it. But really, like a lot of matches on this show, it was wrestling tennis. It was you go, I go, we all go, and you really didn't know who was going to win. That's not true. I was 99.9% sure it was going to be Mercedes, but I did have that 0.1%. Eventually, Hayter got so mad she just threw Mercedes Mone into Team of the Turnbuckle over and over again when she choked her for a little while. But that's when Mercedes hit the most devastating move in all sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up for a 1-2-ooh. But listen, so many actors do end in a surprise roll-up, you could have bought it. Speaking of that as well, Jamie then did smash her with the Haterade, which got this great near fall, and she hit another one, which set the crowd totally crazy. And I actually thought this was really well thought out, which is a stupid sentence. But deep down your Tootsie Toes, I think most people had Mercedes as the favourite, as we've already talked about. But when you got two moves like this, where it does something to your brain, man, and just for a few seconds you're like, oh my gosh, she didn't. No, she didn't. Jamie then, I think, decided she would try an all or nothing version, or a double or nothing version, which actually doesn't make any sense. But my gosh, because Mercedes, I do believe, was going for the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, but on the way down, she spiked Jamie Hayter right on her head. Now, I don't know if that was planned or if it happened by accident, but it made this devastating, hence the word. That was the end. She got the 1, 2, 3. And for some reason, Mercedes Mone just legged it right after this, although I guess she really wanted to touch the Owen Hart Cup trophy. She just won it. This really was top draw stuff, though. For all the people going, I can't believe that AEW wants to do Mercedes Mone versus Toni Storm at their version of WrestleMania, which is going to be all in Texas, where you are being disingenuous or you do not watch professional wrestling. Of course it makes sense to do this. It is not 2 + 2 = potato, and you do have to give this an up. It was a really well fought match. They absolutely kicked ass. When we went into something, I suppose, that was a little bit more angle-based, because Nigel McGuinness, the commentator, former wrestler, well, he was having a match, and he was tagging with Daniel Garcia. He was also taking on the We Are Now Evil FTR, and you had Stokely Hathaway in one corner, and you had Daddy Magic in the other corner, so you just knew there were going to be shenanigans. Well, actually, it was kind of also shenanigan-free. Cash Wheeler and Danny Garcia started, which means soon after this we got Dax Harwood versus Nigel McGuinness. And I am still of that ilk where I'm like, man, Nigel is wrestling again. Because like in 2005, whatever the flub it was, everybody was like, oh my gosh, he's going to make it to the top. And he did have a great career, let's not pretend otherwise. But he was inactive for so long, well, it's just a little bit of a novelty. Nigel was doing really well here too until FTR cut him off when he went for the Tower of London. And honestly, they threw him so hard into on the announce table, I thought they wanted to see his lungs. And given they were close to Tony Schiavone, and they hate Tony Schiavone, they yelled at Tony Schiavone for just a little bit. I mean, that was really the centerpiece of how this began. Danny soon got the hot tag and he ran wild before applying the Dragon Tamer. But Cash Wheeler clearly had come up with a plan before all this. He hit him so hard, I thought he beheaded him. They were then saving each other from the other person's finisher because they had charged their meters, and there was a fun bit when Nigel was like, oh, hello, FTR. I think you should go and apologize to one Tony Schiavone. What I loved about it most, though, is that as soon as FTR were back in control, they were like, We kept our fingers crossed, and we didn't mean it at all. Goofy wrestling for life. It soon became a case of the Shatter Machine versus the Tower of London, although it actually ended with Nigel McGuinness basically dead on the floor, and when Shivani went to check on him, well, I think Danny Garcia was a bit like, damn it, I've been totally isolated. Like Alien. Now this did lead to a great near fall because FTR spiked pile driving for a 1-2 ooh. This is when Daddy Magic got a little bit concerned and he jumped on the apron. He got punched right in the face. Sadly though, Dan was then put in the sharpshooter, and because FTR are a good tag team, they ensured Nigel McGuinness wasn't going to be able to get back in the ring, and because Garcia was trapped, he passed out. I tell you, I didn't see that coming. I assumed Nigel McGuinness would take the loss, so something here is coming. And I do think that will be answered eventually, but the major point here is that FTR did get the win, because sooner rather than later, they should be going after the AEW tag team titles, because as we'll talk about in around about 30 seconds, they have the moxie to make you believe, oh my gosh, they'd be able to win. But this was a super solid match, and Cash and Dax as heels again was totally the right choice. And yeah, it's always nice to see Nigel McGuinness do his thing, giving it up. When we got a stretcher match. I mean, why wouldn't we do that? It was Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet too, because of course it was good. How could it not be? And that is why I'm confident to just leave the stuff they did do and put it over here and focus on something else instead. Now, I love Mark Briscoe. I truly loved him, but he has turned his back on the Bald Brethren. Because at one point here, he grabbed Ricky's head and he quite literally had cleaning products, including Mr. Clean, who obviously is a bald guy, and he was shining up Ricochet's bald head. Do you think that's funny, Mark Briscoe? Do you think that's going to make people laugh? Do you not understand that Mother Nature doesn't pick and choose? And one day, she's going to come after all you full heads, and she will strike this terrible vengeance down on you as well. Then you will come to me, and you will come to Ricochet, our leader, and you will say to us, oh, I want to be let in to this bald brotherhood, and we will say, leave us, my man, and never come back here, because you betrayed us all. I mean, do you see this? Do you think this is just some kind of random parody tee you can buy? No, you can't buy it. But this is Baldy, my brand new wrestling faction, and it stands for Bald Aces Lambast Dimwits Inc. That's right, it's a proper group, and apparently we're on the New York Stock Exchange, so if you want to join, you better, because the revolution is coming. Anyway, other than that, given it was a stretcher match, at one point Mark Briscoe got thrown into this ambulance, and the blood that was coming off this man's head, I was a little bit oogly boogly. It's like, is he meant to be bleeding that much? I think somebody needs to help him. The froggy bow he hit too was utterly insane, although as ever, Ricochet was more nuts, because he had the scissors and he was trying to stab Mark Briscoe. Then Briscoe got the scissors. I think he was going to stab him. When Ricochet went into the ambulance or the local medical facility wagon, surprise, surprise, he came out with more scissors. He then continually stabbed Mark Briscoe over and over again. Nobody seemed to care. When he kicked him in the penis and he hit the spirit gun, he then did more stabbing. And yeah, Mark Briscoe was probably dead at this point. He threw him into the ambulance, or onto the stretcher, whatever the flub you want to call it. Ricochet wins. This one was totally mad, but actually I love stuff like this if you are going to have a long pay-per-view, because you need variety and you need something to come along that makes you go, well, this is totally different. I wasn't expecting it. Mark Briscoe, despite the terrible things he does to bald people, is a great babyface. I don't care, man. Ever since Ricochet joined AEW, his heel work is top tier. I'm giving it an up, dare I say it. I was very sports entertained. Apart from the ball bit. When really we did get a little bit more variety, because it was all about the story, was the Hurt Syndicate versus the Sons of Texas. Now the only issue here is the lack of jeopardy. I know we talked about this on Dynamite ups and downs, but nobody thought that Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara were going to win here. Not even their family. I bet they were at home going, man, these two guys are totally toast. So whoever is next for the Hurt Syndicate, we just need to build them up a little bit more. Therefore, I'm going to give it a teeny weeny down. However, yes, of course, MJF was out here and the whole Hurt Syndicate presentation has now been updated to include him. And he was on the outside interfering a lot, or at least casting distractions. And at one point, Bobby Lashley was like, I see you trying to pass that diamond ring to Shelton Benjamin. Don't do it. But then later on, when they were all kicking ass, well, Bob would come round to this idea, and he was quite literally hugging Maxwell Jacob Freeman. This was after Sammy Guevara had done this mad shooting star press to the floor as well, and it did help, because then, yeah, Sam went for a flying nothing, and Shelton Benjamin booted him so hard in the face midair that he was like, listen, guys, he ain't gonna get up from that. 1, 2, 3. Dustin Rhodes had a great hot tag as well. I want to point that out because Dustin Rhodes is so good. But the point is this. At times, MJF almost screwed up. So I guess that is strike one. But he also did good stuff. So eventually this whole thing is going to implode. However, I have enjoyed how we've got here. And there is something fun like getting them to see them act as a group. Like you don't want to go to the twist straight away. You want to enjoy the midsection. Sounds like Gorilla Monsoon. But yeah, the match was fine. I would give it an up. You could probably argue we could have done this on Dynamite, but we didn't. When it was Okada versus Mike Bailey for the Continental Championship, and I don't know what Michael slipped into Okada's drink, but my gosh, he turned up ready to work. Mike was able to hurt him to the outside early on and was even using some of the still steps, but that just taught Okada, so when Bailey came after him again, he moved out the way, and Mike kicked that damn steel. He was barefooted, so maybe he broke his foot. Actually, it was totally fine though, he hit the crane kick right away. And I just looked off into the distance and thought to myself, the Karate Kid for life. The Rainmaker was so damn mad he hit a flatliner into the floor, but Mike was like, well, if you're gonna do that to me, I'm gonna start my wrestling tennis, because then he was doing shooting star presses and damn springboard moonsaults, and he was flying all over the place. Okada soon stopped that with the air raid crash when he was just flipping everybody off, but that's when they went totally crazy with their Matrix moves. And when Bailey went for a proper shooting star press, Okada was like, this isn't my first rodeo, you stupid idiot, and he got his knees up. The kick Bailey threw after that was utter death, so Okada was like, right, I'm gonna hit you with a drop kick, although when he went for the Rainmaker, Bailey turned that into Time Adventure. This was another one of those near falls, another one of these 1-2-oohs. Okada grabbed the rope at the last minute. Some people didn't even see it. The finish was truly insane though as well, because Mike Bailey thought he'd go for another ultimate weapon, which is off the top ropes, and as he was coming down, Okada drop kicked him, and honestly, his tum-tum must have exploded. He then grabbed him, he gave him the Rainmaker. It was the 1-2-3. He was always going to retain this belt because, as we know, at All In, it is going to be Kenny versus Okada. But in terms of Okada's recent matches, this one was right up there. So it really comes down to the fact that sometimes people do just click. Mike Bailey and Okada did that. And also, I think we have to point out at this point, ever since Michael did debut in AEW, he has just been on fire. And I would implore you to go and watch this match. I'm happy this one wasn't a pay-per-view. It was good for the Continental Belt too. Give it up. Toni Storm versus Mina Shirakawa for the Women's Championship was after this, and this one is just going to get a little bit of a down too. It ties into other things that we've already talked about. Toni Storm was never going to lose here, and even if AEW had decided, well, should we do it for fun? Well, that would have been a stupid decision. Now it sort of doesn't matter really, because it was just so damn entertaining, and they were both so over with the fans. And really, during the opening here, they wiggled and danced to get out of the other person's moves. It's a strange thing to say, but really if it works, who am I to argue? They then slapped each other for a bit as Mina went for that figure four around the ring post. And even though Toni Storm this time had learned and she pulled Mina's head right into the steel, at this point, Toni Storm's leg was totally screwed up because it happened on Wednesday and now it happened here. She wasn't able to walk. She did go Taylor Swift here because she was trying to shake it off, and that's when Mina was like, I don't care, and she hit a dragon screw. And that freaked Luther out so much because his hero was being beaten up that Mina went and attacked him too, and then essentially did a dive off his back because 2025. Somehow that did help Storm though, and she was able to come back with the DDT. And as they were both down, the fans just started going, oh my gosh, it's so damn good. So they were having a great time. That's the whole point of pro wrestling. It really didn't go well for Toni though, because when she was going for the sweet chick music, her leg gave out again. And that is when Mina came back with the inverted figure four and she hit the glamorous driver. There's another one, 1-2-ooh. So everybody on this card absolutely needs to come up with a new finisher. I did like the proper ending though, because we teased it was going to end with the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, because that's how we got here to begin with. But instead, after they had battled over this, Toni just went nope. She headbutted Mina right in the head. Obviously, otherwise, what would it be? She hit Storm Zero, 1-2-3. They kissed afterwards like all good rivals should do when the big graphic popped up on the screen at All In Texas for the, I assume, Women's Championship and maybe TBS title. I don't know at the moment, I made that up. But it is going to be Mercedes Mone versus Toni Storm. So once again, don't pretend that's not the biggest match we could do in the women's division. So that's the match we should do when we do get to All In. And this just proved it. So I am a bit interested in what we do with Mina Shirakawa now, because there was no Mariah May on this show. Start the speculation. When, my friends, it was time for Anarchy in the Arena, and I'm just going to get on my soapbox for 1 second. Because listen, some people watching this will not have liked it, which is perfectly cool, but from my bald perspective, this is everything I love about pro wrestling. Because some people, well, the people involved in this match, they had sat down with Tony Khan and clearly gone, I think we should just try and come up with the most fun, chaotic, carnage wrestling match of all time, and they absolutely achieved it. There was one moment here when Swerve Strickland had a staple gun, and he was stapling everyone. Now, if you went to explain that to someone who didn't watch sports entertainment, they'd be like, that sounds disgusting. But it was so well timed, and it was so well executed, I was laughing out loud. And when I do indeed watch my pro wrestling, I just want to be entertained. I do not think they could have done a better job. It was also the Death Riders and the Young Bucks taking on Swerve Strickland, Kenny Omega, Willow Nightingale, and the Ops. And this So much to talk about here, I think we're just going to have to break it up into segments. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Swerve was dressed as the Predator, and Samoa Joe had a trash can that was like the Captain America shield, and when the Young Bucks came out, they were literally dressed like American forefathers, and they came out to like, I don't know what, pip pip, whistle, war music. I don't even know how to explain it. But because music is so important to Anarchy in the Arena, that's how we start to fight. With like a flute playing. I couldn't help it, man. I was breaking down. I'm just going to keep saying my catchphrase, goofy wrestling for life. But I'm pretty sure you could show this to someone that didn't watch wrestling, and they would think it was a violent version of the Gettysburg Address. And as it did play, Marina Shafir and Willow Nightingale, well, they suplexed each other off Barry Barricade. Kenny Omega then grabbed the microphone and was like, man, turn this music off because it sucks. And I think he thought something else was going to play, but instead it was, I'm so excited. And his face kind of lit up, but he also looked somewhat depressed about the whole thing. Once again, I was cracking up. Swerve and Kenny also used that, though, to kind of whoop ass to the beat. When Ken did it again, he was like, listen, that's not what I wanted. Play the alternative rock track. And honestly, if this isn't the most fan service thing that anyone has ever done in the history of the world, which is hyperbole, the point is the final song was Let the Bodies Hit the Floor by Drowning Pool. And if you have been watching wrestling for any amount of time, you know the connection with that. It gave me goosebumps, what a loser. We then got all the dives because we wanted the bodies to hit the floor, and also 2025, when Jon Moxley was just stabbing Powerhouse Hobbs, I think with a pen, but it could have been a fork. It really made me laugh because Powerhouse Hobbs was so done with this, he speared Jon Moxley out of his shoes. When we cut to the parking lot, Willow was grabbing Marina and quite literally throwing her into garbage. Tamara also learned from that as well because he wrapped his foot in flipping barbed wire and he was kicking Wheeler Yuta with it. When I think Claudio Castagnoli felt a little bit left out, so he did his big swing onto Swerve Strickland, and when Swerve went into the speaker, the music stopped, as if all this sound was coming out of one PA. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life, and I love it. There was then just all manner of crazy dives, including Nick Jackson trying to kill himself with a flipping swanton. And when Marina and Willow returned to the ring, they went to the ring post, and we just cut back to Willow, and she had like a lock and a chain in her ear, meaning Marina Shafir had done that with all this contraptions. I was like, man, that is making me feel just a little bit uncomfortable. Just as the Young Bucks were going to kill Powerhouse Hobbs too, in came Prince Nana driving a forklift. And of course, Swerve was on top, so he did the stomp. And if you went really quiet, somewhere you could have heard Judy Bagwell. She felt proud. Finally, her influence had been seen. Everybody then choked everybody else, and this is when we got to the staple gun bit. But I didn't actually even tell you how that ended, because Marina Shafir got the staple gun. Look into my eyes, my friends. She staple gunned Swerve Strickland's tongue. Once again, it was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Willow Nightingale then speared absolutely everybody, which was a great spot because the crowd went nuts. And when Kenny Omega decided, well, I'm going to do that with Snapdragons, and Marina Shafir tried to stop him, he dropped her with a Snapdragon too. Why are you still listening to me, you idiots? You need to go and watch it. It was just total carnage from here, and even the referee got taken out with a super kick at one point. When, of course, the hooded gentleman came out, because you have to do that in modern wrestling, and when he revealed himself, it was Hook. He hit Claudio with a golf club, but when Samoa Joe was like, all right, Hook, you can come party, Hook was like, no, and he walked off. So we're also building that narrative. I think he feels sad because he got replaced in the op so quickly. Gabriel Kidd arrived too to help Jon Moxley, and that's when we had thumbtacks. They were in Kenny Omega's mouth, so of course the Bucks super kicked him there. When all of a sudden the local medical facility whacker was back, as was Mark Briscoe. He was jumping off this thing. I went into my What's Next Wrestling book, and I was like, nope, they've done everything. Somehow Gabriel Kidd and the Death Riders got trapped in that thing as well, which did leave Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland taking on the Bucks, but it didn't matter, because Kenny hit a one-wing angel onto Matt Jackson through a table, which quite literally exploded, when Strickland was like, all right, I'm going to stick thumbtacks in my shoes. He went to the top rope, he did the swerve stomp onto Nick Jackson's face, and you'll be shocked to hear this, that was the 1, 2, 3. Swerve stuck his tongue out while he was doing this pin so you could see the staple. I rarely do this, so you do have to forgive me, but the only words I can come up with is fuck off. So even with all of that, I have not done this justice. It was chaos personified and sponsored by Dr. Robotnik. And I don't even care that some people are like, oh my gosh, this one was so convoluted because we just did Anarchy in the Arena, because we always do Anarchy in the Arena. Well, I think we should do Anarchy Arena every year. If we can keep coming up with creative things like this, I'm not just giving it up, I'm giving it a golden up. It took serious wrestling, it took goofy wrestling, and it was just a roller coaster of a good time to the point it made me happy, man. That is entirely the point. And then, yes, despite being top-tier pro wrestlers, out came Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong to take on Josh Alexander, Takeshita, and Carl Fletcher. And of course, they couldn't get the crowd back. Nobody could have got the crowd back. Santa Claus could have walked out and said, oh my God, it should be Christmas all the time. And all the fans would be like, yeah, that's great, Santa. We need 5 minutes. So I'm just going to throw it down in there because I just think you could have held this off till Dynamite and had it at the main event. Again, it was the Don Callis family taking on the Paragon or whatever their new name is. That is great professional wrestling. I just kind of felt like we put them in a bad spot here, so I'm giving it a down. Just my 2 cents. Once again, though, if you do watch this in isolation, it is such a good match. And it kind of feels to me like we're teasing Adam Cole versus Kyle Fletcher for that TNT Championship. That's exactly what I want in my life. Cole's hot tag here was really fun as well, as was Roderick Strong, who was hitting backbreaks onto Barry Barricade that doesn't make any sense. But to cut a long story short, poor Kyle O'Reilly was totally isolated. I got nowhere to go. When Takeshita booted him right in the face, or kneed him right in the face, which is when Fletcher was like, well, I'm going to take you out, you other Kyle, because I'm a Kyle too. He hit him with the brainbuster 1, 2, 3. There was actually more fun after this as well, because AEW clearly was intent on exhausting us this evening, because all of a sudden Lance Archer, who's also with the Callis family, and Roppongi Vice were beating up the good guys. So out came Brody King, out came Ishii. They just stopped in the aisleway as, oh no, their batteries have run down. No, it wasn't, because Tanahashi was here instead. That made no sense. Tanahashi, the ace of New Japan, and the president of New Japan, they beat up all the bad guys, and essentially they should have had a big banner that said, Forbidden Door is coming. So I can't get mad at this. Again, I was just like, we have had absolutely everything on this pay-per-view. It's probably an all-timer in many ways. Giving it enough. When I am going to break my own rule, I'm just going to spoil it for you right now. There is another Golden Up coming, but it was the final and the main event of the men's Owen Hart Cup tournament. It was Will Ospreay taking on Hangman Adam Page, and they could probably do this 42,760 times more, and they may never get it better than this. So it all really came down to my 2 favorite things, and the first is the word that I always use, jeopardy. Because you really had no idea who was going to win here, which meant you could just be a wrestling fan, you cross your fingers, you pick the guy you want to win the most, and you essentially just hope that it happens. And that is totally wrestling, man, and all companies should be doing this. And yes, it is hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but that's the whole point and why you have a creative process. You sit down, you try and figure it out. The second point is that we actually had a winner and a loser. Now listen, I like shenanigans and I like distractions, but I'll also be the first to admit they are running wild in pro wrestling right now. Whereas here, Hangman Adam Page was the victor and Will Ospreay was the loser. But I didn't go, oh, well, that Will Ospreay. Why did I ever support you? No, because we had emotion and once again we had a story. So now it's actually more interesting to go, well, what the flub does he do now? But also, is Hangman Adam Page going to be the guy to stop the Death Riders? So it kept you interested. So we really don't need to get bogged down in that either. Otherwise, there's another one. I don't really know what I meant to do because there was so much to this. I mean, not only did we have badass entrances like it was a WrestleMania or something, but you had so many flipping callbacks. I mean, even Hangman Page did an Angel Wings at one point, which is kind of screwed up, man, because that was a callback to Christopher Daniels, and he tried to kill that guy. You also had little things like Adam grabbing Will by the hair at one point and then telling himself, we're not meant to be doing that anymore. Do you not remember the promise you made to your family? He also then did just throw Will Ospreay into Barricade for a while, so I thought, well, he can't be that mad. When William did the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the Blue Thunderball. Did it work? Of course it didn't. It never does. There's also this absolutely mad point when Page somehow stopped Will Ospreay mid-Oz cutter. He went for the lariat, Ospreay ducked that one too, and all of a sudden Adam ran at him, and he hit a standing Spanish fly. I was like, how the hell did they pull that off? And once again, this crowd lost. It was then just move, superb timing, move, superb timing, move, superb footwork, as they reminded you. They are 2 of the best in the world. When they just went, you know what? Let's do a Stars Clash off the ring apron. Started looking around again. It's like, did I just see that? And I tell you, I rewound it. That's exactly what they did. Page also kicked out of a hidden blade, which really made it interesting, although when they were fighting on out of the announce table, that thing gave way beneath them. And 2 things happened here too. One, you got really scared, because again, that wasn't planned. But because it was so out of nowhere, it somehow added to this. It just made the whole thing terrifying. In fact, the Page then kicked out of the hidden blade and the Stormbreaker we talked about for ages. And this is when Will Ospreay hit the V trigger, and he was actually going to go for the one-wing angel. But Hangman wiggled and jiggled, he got out of it when he hit Big Pressure, which is Swerve Strickland's move. And I tell you, Will Ospreay grabbed that rope. I like the 1, 2, ooh, 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 ooh. It couldn't have been any more last second. And at one point, the referee didn't see it, then he did see it, and these fans audibly made a noise. They couldn't believe it. This is when they were flying around the place again, and Hangman went for a buckshot, but somehow Ospreay got him to the Stormbreaker position. But once again, Hangman basically did a dance. He got a normal lariat, and I think that's when he realized, oh my gosh, I can see in my opening. He went to the apron, he did the buckshot version, he got the 1, 2, 3, and you have to go and listen to the reaction. It sums it up, and that's why I've kind of zoomed through this. It's one of those matches that even if you don't think you like AEW, just give it 20 minutes of your time. I will be amazed if it doesn't win you over. It's some of the best stuff you will see throughout 2025, and in terms of All Elite Wrestling, it's one of the best main events they've ever done. They shook hands afterwards, and the commentators were telling you, oh my gosh, Ospreay's in such a tough spot now, because what is he going to do? And we had the graphic at All In. It is Moxley versus Hangman. As far as I'm concerned, the Cowboy has to win that, otherwise we are doing him, and maybe the fans, a disservice. Let's not forget what AEW has here either. 2 massive white-hot baby faces, even though one did get defeated. So yes, it's not just getting it up, it is getting a golden up. I don't even care if you're a tribalist, you like WWE or you like AEW. I don't think you can argue it. In terms of in-ring work, it's an absolute classic, man. Because I am a nerd, I'm going to go watch it again later. Flub me sideways. Which brought us to the end of Double or Nothing. And listen, it was too long for me. That's it. But otherwise, I'm not just giving it up. I'm giving it a golden up. There is no way I can do anything but praise a show that had both Anarchy in the Arena and the main event and that Mercedes match and a bunch of other stuff that I've now forgotten because my brain can only retain as much information as possible. And I know, oh, Simon, you just want a job at AEW. Couple of things there. For starters, I've been doing this 10 years. It hasn't seemed to work so far. But also, when I praise WWE, people say, oh, Simon, you want a job at WWE? Pick a lane, for goodness sake, man. I just like good wrestling, and this was good wrestling. Now, please do leave me a comment below and let me know what you thought about AEW. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for SmackDown, just because that's the last ups and downs we did do. No, ups and downs for Saturday's main event. There's too much wrestling on TV. Then, yeah, interact with the video. You know, subscribe, like, I don't know. Why am I covering my eyes? It's been a long morning. Is it even the morning anymore? I have no idea. Don't know what I'm doing, but I appreciate you, my friends, and I will see you very soon.